What's up guys, DukeSloth here, and today we're looking at the patch notes for patch 5.17, Heras Odyssey. And don't get baited by the name, there's actually no Hera in this patch yet, just her Odyssey. I've already done the patch notes live viewing earlier, now we're going into the review, where we're going to talk a little bit more about the changes in depth. First of all, a quick look at the skins here, which we didn't do beforehand. We have SLOTH Thanatos. That one is the poster child of this patch, basically. Then we have a Cosmic Power Anubis, which is another one of those galaxy skins, basically. Then we have Pixel Chaos Discordia, a skin that, in my opinion, has super cool effects. Unfortunately, not the best picture here. Let's hope that this one is a little bit better. It has all these pixel effects on the wings that actually, in my opinion, look even better than this in-game because they're like really pixelated. The effects on the jacket on the other end are not that cool. But what's really cool are her ability effects and her, I would say, like square pixel Pac-Man kind of apple that eats the enemies. Voice pack is not that cool. And my favorite one from this patch is General Noceris Kumbhakana. That literally turns Kumbhakana into a rhinoceros. And that comes with a really cool voice pack as well and nice effects too. And let's quickly go to the voice lines here as well. So if you're wearing your headphones, make sure to turn them down. We're going to start right now.
I don't care about right or wrong. All I care about is my target.
Once I am done with them, I shall rule this world and all the worlds of the universe.
You may recognize this. This is actually the original Anubis voice actor as well.
I can't break your spirit, but I can break your rating.
I am General Noceris, protector of the Sumabi people, and I am honored to fight alongside you.
Blessed be Noceris. I am honored too. I'm honored to gonna be playing the skin all the time because that's the only combo skin that matters now. And if you disagree, that's not even subjective. You're just wrong. I'm sorry. Just kidding. I love the skin though. All right, and with that, we're getting to the Odyssey itself. Heras Odyssey Into the Light. And if you are familiar with the Odyssey from the last years, it seems to be somewhat of a similar concept while having some differences. Apparently, it's going to be more stuff overall. Again, Odyssey points at Odyssey levels as usual. You get levels, and through the levels, you can get extra rewards, and you get these points by completing some quests and by buying items throughout the Odyssey. There is a collection bonus for every 3 Odyssey levels, and yeah, those can be earned also by the quests. And I think typically you can skip 1 skin per patch in order to still get enough boni to get the rewards, enough points to get the rewards. And there will be 5 quests in every Odyssey update, and those 5 quests will give you 1 Odyssey level. So yeah, matches, then you get 2 extra levels for the skins. Or you just buy all the skins. There's also going to be an epic story along with it, for those who actually read those. I know some people do. I am not one of them. And the first Odyssey items are basically the ones we already see here. SLOTH Thanatos, Cosmic Power Anubis, Pixel Chaos Discordia, and Heras Odyssey loading skin. There is no sign of the Kumbhakana skin in here, so I'm expecting that to be in a chest. Unfortunately, I might have to roll that one. And then the bonus items here, cutesy Hera avatar and Heras Odyssey loading screen. Typically, there will be better rewards towards the end, usually 3 exclusive skins. Then there's usually a HUD theme. Then there's the final skin. I'm not sure if it's exclusive or limited, by the way. But, well, the final skin, the tier 5 skin, which is going to be Ares this year. We saw some more pictures of that on the live viewing. I think he doesn't quite look like the earlier concept art anymore, and I don't quite like his new version as much, and I'm not quite surprised, but hey, I don't play Ares anyways. So, works with me. And then we have some updates to Project Olympus, the ongoing fixes to SMITE and upgrades that make the game feel better in some ways. On consoles, the B or circle buttons will now exit menus as long as those buttons have no further function on those menus. So that should make things a little bit more convenient. I don't know how much of an impact this actually had though. All platforms now have video links to preview any god abilities. Those are unfortunately partially outdated. All chests will now list all of their contents And then there is controller sensitivity option for PC. I think especially the chest content's pretty nice, by the way. I think that's something neat, which previously you had to look that up online every single time. Controller sensitivity, also cool for those who play on the PC with controller, which some people do, not necessarily always because they want to, because sometimes it's the only option for them. So I appreciate that being added in. And the rules for how God stats are shown on the loading frames have been updated. On one hand, God stands no longer require you have purchased the mastery skin to be displayed on a loading frame. They will show up based on your hide God stats option in your profile loadout. That is activated by default for new players, but you can no longer hide your mastery levels. They will now always be showing on your frame. And then we have new additions to various chests as usual. The awesome chest gets Geek Beak Thoth and Pop Patrol Cerberus. Pretty cool additions actually. And then we have the Godlike chest, which now has Madame Blade Circuit, Beach Babe Aphrodite, and Monster Trailer El Shen. And the Fantasy Point store now comes with Cangasiero Vamana, Life's the Beach Gap, and Hellrider Chiron. And in bug fixes, there is quite a lot this time. We have an issue where items didn't have the correct passive text. The Polynesian pedestal had some missing textures. And there was an issue where you could get knocked up out of the assault map. The UI bug was here that now players can no longer spam another player with custom match invites. They're now limited to 2 invites per 30 seconds. Then there are a lot of spectator fixes. And then there are some specific console fixes for the minimap that could get stuck. The editor for it could get stuck. And an issue where people could not create or join parties after leaving the game idle for a long period of time. An item also gets a fix that's a bit more impactful here, and that's Onyada's Garb. This item no longer counts as an aura item, meaning it takes a little bit of extra damage away from Ares specifically. Bakasura, Minion Summer's Ultimate will no longer remove backdoor protections. Somebody actually let me know about that on Twitter, and I completely forgot to check up on that because I was at Gamescom at the time, I think. So sorry about that. I should have definitely checked back myself. Either way, Bakasura removed backdoor protections again after they changed his ultimate a little bit before, where you could eat minions, and that was not intended. And Freya fixed an issue where first ability was healing for 100% instead of 33%. Quite impactful actually, and she still gets another nerf on top of that. But now we're getting to item balance first. And this is a lot of text. New item, Golden Blade. The time has come for a legendary item in SMITE's history to return, but in an adjusted state. In order to understand why, we will need to take a short journey through the history of Golden Bow. Golden Bow was loved by many assassin players. The item it was loved by many hunter players as well, but hey. The item had seemingly narrow applications, so it was buffed along with its Tier 2 version to encourage more widespread use. This led to it becoming a must-buy on all hunters, causing them to blend together in a very harmful way. The item was removed from the game after determining that it would not be used enough on assassins or too much on hunters. We try to avoid items that will only be successful on a single god, and we try to avoid items that cause all gods to lose their defining features. Golden Bow violated both these rules, but at different stages in its life cycle. And on the patch notes, I think Hindu was mentioned that obviously Mercury was the only god that really benefited from it in its first iterations, that really made use of it until it was changed. After much deliberation and community feedback, the SMITE design team has decided that the Golden Bow effect is worthy of being in the game. Turning your basic attacks into AoE attacks is fun and interesting, and many players of SMITE voiced that they would like it to return. In order to do this in a more balanced and positive way, we made a few tweaks from the old design. First, we limited it to our katana tree that is only for melee physical classes. This item tree can often make items work that would break the game in other spots. We also decided to remove the critical strike percentage from the item, which actually happened a while ago already, by the way, lowering its overall variance and widening its possible guard pool. Finally, we made sure that the item was a Tier 3 item at appropriate cost. The largest issue arose when players could start the game with the AoE basic attacks on an item that cost under 1,500 gold. We hope this new iteration of the item will bring a fun and unique passive back to SMITE with many positive results. We want to constantly increase the number of viable guards in the solo role or in other game modes, and we love bringing things back that the community feels passionate about. Thus we have Golden Blade. A lot of text for an item that was in itself not super drastically changed. So it's now only available for Assassins and Warriors, and it's upgrading from 1000-fold Blade instead. So a relatively weak tier 2 now. 2200 gold, 30 physical power, so not 50 anymore. 15% attack speed instead, which in price value is a little bit lower, but then the item is also a little bit cheaper, so hey. And 10% movement speed, as well as the passive of all basic attacks will also hit enemies within a 15-unit radius of the target for 50% of the damage to guards and 75% damage to minions and jungle camps. What do we do with this? So I think what's good about this is that it has attack speed, that it has hybrid stats now. So it's worth picking up on guards that didn't really make as much use of it beforehand. It's a similar mix of stats as Hasten Katana has, only that instead of focusing on boxing and chasing down enemies, you're more focused on getting your clear up. And I think this is not only for solo, I think this is definitely also something that you can make use of in jungle. Now, the question is really which guards make good use of this. The first, most obvious case for me is definitely Arachne right now, because Arachne is a guard that normally would somewhat benefit from Hasten Katana actually in her current state, but doesn't really need it, and the rest of the stats on the item are good for her, and this item can really be replaced here by Golden Blade. Then there's obviously Mercury, who can kind of proc it on range with his wand still, and then there are also other guards that don't have the best multi-target clear. Bakasura is a bit questionable because it doesn't do that much for his ult either. He kind of can get away without it at this point, I'm pretty sure. There is the possibility of Kali picking up, for example. There is definitely the possibility of Erlang Shen picking up because he has the normal basic attack scaling and the normal cleave now that they brought the scalings up, and he still has the extra bonus damage from the dog, which would also proc the cleave for a mini extra cleave, so he should get even more damage out of the cleave in total. So that is going to be a very interesting one in that regard. And then there are a few other guards that in one way or another can make use of it more or less effectively. I don't think it will be quite as tragic as Throwing Dagger was, because it's just a tier 3. When you can't start the game with the cleave loses a significant amount of value, and if it's only on melee characters, it also loses value. The really interesting question for me is if you, with this, can somehow put an assassin into duo lane against a hunter, because they can actually clear okay-ish that way. But then again, with how Smite has developed, clear time is typically not a problem, mana while clearing is not a problem, and that all kind of points more towards this item not seeing that much use just yet. But I'm happy to be proven wrong here, because I like the concept of a cleave, and I think there are some guards that really should benefit from it at least. Also going to be interesting for certain AA warriors in solo that are not by default the ones with the best cleaves. And then this change comes with another change, because otherwise we'd have 5 items in the tree, and now we have Achilles Spear back. Just kidding, that's just the old logo. Heartseeker gets a change along with this, basically gets moved over to another tree. I'm not going to read the reasoning here, because basically the main reason realistically is that they can't have 5 items in the tree, or they can, but they would have had to change things for it, and they figured might as well do that and make the hunter players happy at the same time, because they get something too. Because this item is not only getting a new icon, but it's also moved to the Hydra's tree, to the Morningstar tree. That means it's now available for hunters. It's available for warriors and assassins still, but it's also available for hunters. And it is now still 2,300 gold. It still has 30 physical power, 10 physical penetration, but no more 10% movement speed. Instead, it has 200 mana and 7 MP5. That's actually more than Transcendence has, by the way. 6 MP5 on Transcendence. Passive, every successful basic attack gives you 1 stack. At 5 stacks, your next ability deals bonus damage equal to 80% of your physical power to the first enemy guard hit, and restores 10% of your maximum mana. Like your total mana. So, with this thing, I don't think you'll run out of mana. If you combine this in Transcendence, which makes a lot of sense, because They synergize perfectly. You have flat mana that amplifies the power that you get from Transcendence, and Transcendence itself gives you a lot more power, which means that Heartseeker also scales higher, so really, why would you not? You can just spam away in lane so much, and that's going to make spam ability hunters extremely dangerous. It's going to make Ullr dangerous, and Neith dangerous, it's going to make Medusa dangerous, Chiron dangerous, Skadi dangerous. There's so many gods that can really play super aggressive, get a lot of poke off at range, and some of them can do that very easily. Think of, for example, Medusa's Acid Spit, Venom Spit, whatever. Yeah, this is going to be rough. There's going to be some high aggression lanes, not only in duo, but also mid. And I think in the end, Heartseeker available for hunters is going to change the meta more than Golden Bow will overall. Just from what I'm expecting, especially with his new change stats that allow it to be such an effective item overall. Effective enough to even rush it. I mean, it's not the best clear item, obviously, but if your god has enough clear through abilities, enough mana for that, and then can build pressure with this, I don't want to be in that lane. And then there's Ethereal stuff, which gets a cost reduction to 2,600 from 2,700, and the HP stolen is increased from 4% to 5%, and nobody's going to care about that, honestly. I don't think it will do much compared to the other changes here. Sometimes there are situations where you can maybe pick it up, and you will do that, but most of the time you get better items to pick, and that's just that. But Athena is getting changes. She's getting a buff. Reach now probably benefits from lifesteal at 33%. Now the thing is, hardly anyone ever builds lifesteal on Athena. Sometimes maybe on jungle Athena, but even there it's super rare. On the other hand, preemptive strike increased cooldown from 15 to 11 seconds, depending on the rank, to 14 seconds at all ranks. And that's going to hurt her, because the problem for Athena is that she uses her 1, she uses her 2, she uses her 3. And that's all she does in a team fight, unless she backs and ults back in, or just ults on someone next to her. And other Guardians just have more presence throughout a team fight. And preemptive strike was at least one way to slow an enemy a bit more often again, to have something to do. And that's no longer the case. You now have this longer cooldown all the time. Rough. But she's been very, very potent, very strong in this season overall. In the pro scene, she's shown a lot of potential, and therefore the changes, I think, are still justified. Cabrakan. Seismic Crush. Decreased cooldown from 18 seconds to 18 seconds, scaling down to 14 seconds. Cool. Yeah, it's cool. Like, especially for jungle Cabrakan, I like this. Obviously, support Cabrakan if you want to play that, it works too. Solo does a little bit too. Yeah. I think this is a change that's not going to make him overwhelmingly strong, but gives him a nudge in the right places to work a little better, and might make it more worth to just level Seismic Crush early and just go super aggressive with it, which is at least an option. Carnuno's Bramble Blast increased the base damage per tick from 4 to 20 to 6 to 22. This has to be multiplied by 10 because it has 10 ticks. So 20 more base damage on the first rank, and then 20 on the last rank still, so it's just a flat 20 increase. Yeah, a little bit of clear, a little bit of pressure. Not going to drastically change anything about the character, especially because tick damage, but I think it's fair. Then again, Kronos is also not the worst one when it comes to ability damage. So, that new Heartseeker thing, that might work for him too. And Chiron. Chiron is actually going to be scary. Chiron is getting another buff, and like I said, he's also one of those guys who can really, really work well with Heartseeker. Potentially even get 2 procs off through his 2, like just using some basic attacks on the wave afterwards and getting another proc from the Heartseeker off. And he gets a buff on his base damage from training exercise, up from 70 to 270 to 80 to 300. So a little bit more clear, a little more pressure here. Yeah. Ouch. I'm scared of Chiron. I honestly am. Freya, I'm not so scared of anymore. Aside of that lifesteal glitch that she had. Northern Lights gets a nerf, decreased in magical power scaling from 50 to 40%. And Heras also said, or Ponpon specifically said, Titan, sorry, it's Titan now. They would like to keep an eye on her and see how she develops from this point on. So might nerf her more. And then we have Red Tusker. Through the Cosmos, cooldown increased from 90 seconds to 110 down to 90 seconds. Basically just adjusting him a little bit more in terms of global presence, much like the other global presence gods. They all had their cooldown increase eventually, and that's just the same for him. I can assert that. And with that, I'm starting to yawn because I'm tired. And that's it for the patch notes. Again, no Hera, unfortunately, but some interesting changes, at least to the meta. I think these ones will definitely have an impact, especially the Heartseeker one. And we'll see how we go from there. And with that, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope this was interesting, insightful, and you got some more behind the scenes, not behind the scenes, some more info on the patch this way. And if you're new to the channel, feel free to click the sub button and maybe the bell. That really helps me out. You can also still check out the live viewing if you want to go for the long version as well and see some of the skins and stuff. Other than that, see you for the next one tomorrow. DukeSloth out.